I'm Stacy.
And we are with North Texas Networkers, a podcast about introducing interesting people across the DFW area. Wow, it's December.
It is the middle of December, actually.
I can't believe that. This year has been crazy, but I'm so ready for it to be over.
Yep, we're looking forward to a new year next year and just ready for it to get here.
Well, I will say, I think we have started in the past 2 weeks to really make next year better.
Yep, we made a
Because,
decision to be healthier, and part of that was starting Pilates.
which we went this morning. I think I'm feeling a little stiff on this couch.
It's kind of fun, though. I've enjoyed it, for
It
sure.
is kind of fun.
Well, Emily's doing that one.
Emily Lynch is teaching us. She is one of our clients, and she is an instructor, and so we are enjoying having her, and I wanted to give her a little shout out this morning, so thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. I'm feeling it this morning.
Yes, thanks a lot. So today I'm very excited because we have some special guests. We have Donald and Dawn Hooton here with us today from the Hooton Foundation. Don is the executive chairman, and Donald Don Hooton Jr. is the president of the organization, and I'm so thrilled to have them here today. They are nationally known. They are renowned speakers across North America and have had several awards, been given recognition from places like CBS 60 Minutes, CBS 48 Hours, ESPN, and many more. So we'll be sharing more of that information with you today. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Craig Schrenk with Will Ben Mortgage, and then I want to welcome Don and Donald Hooton with us today.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us. This will be fun.
Ladies.
You bet.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, you two work together. What's it like working father and son team?
Guess I'll start with that one because I get that question fairly often. What's it like working with family? And my dad and I have a great relationship. And when we first, he was founded the organization, and then I was brought on a couple of years later to help build our program out and get it into schools. We had that same discussion: is how are we going to go into this as family? But for me, it's like working with your hero, somebody you've looked up to, and
wow.
He's always a good listener and somebody I can bounce ideas off of. So we have a great relationship, but that's something we established up front, and we've never had any problems working together. It's been tremendous working to the same goal.
Well, and you have such a special purpose. Tell us a little bit about Taylor. Who was Taylor, and how did we get here today?
We had 3 children over the course of all these years. Our oldest is a girl, Mackenzie, who is a teacher here in Frisco. Our middle child was Donald, and our youngest son was Taylor. And all very much alike, but all very, very different. Taylor was the very smart, an athlete, our family clown, and always a jokester, and just an all-around good kid. And up until the time we lost him, an athlete. Like his older brother Donald, a baseball player. He was also into basketball, but we miss him.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about how the foundation came to be then. What was the impetus about the foundation?
We lost Taylor in 2003. He committed suicide, and shocked. I mean, as any parent would be. I mean, devastated. You have friends or relatives that are involved in a family that had suicide. They tell you it's bad. It's worse than you can ever imagine. Especially, it was terrible for me. It was 10 times worse for my wife. But we quickly learned, even before the funeral, that the likely culprit was his secret use of anabolic steroids. We had no idea he had been using these drugs. During that time period, steroids were always in the news in Major League Baseball and a number of other sports. And he looked up to his heroes, the athletes at that time, and figured if that was the way to make it to the top, then he would take that course. And later found out it wasn't just him, it was a whole lot of other kids on his team and in other places across the country. And it was that awareness, plus the awareness as we talked to other parents and coaches and teachers, that they were as shocked as we were. They had no idea this use was going on amongst the kids, that we were moved, and I use the word called. I truly believe this was much higher power calling us to speak out. And when we first spoke out, did a program out here at Plano West Senior High School where Taylor was in school, had about 600 people come. I had learned enough in the previous, it's hard to believe in this time, you know, the first program was 6 weeks after Taylor died.
Really?
And did not know the Dallas Morning News covered the story, and little did we know we had walked into an information vacuum. It wasn't just us that was unaware of the steroid usage, but as it turned out, people across the country were just as surprised.
It's had to be so hard on your family. I mean, what got you through it? What got you to where you went from total devastation to you're going to do something about it?
I've asked them that question a lot, just because it's like, you know, I've lost animals and friends and what have you, but to this day, I still don't know how you were able to get up and share Taylor's story and take it, you know, really take it from the very beginning to where it is today.
Well, it's faith in the good Lord, and I say that because that's what it is. That, and then at a tactical level, we attended there's a group here in town, a nonprofit, Survivors of Suicide, and found that, you know, their method for dealing with this challenge for parents or anybody that's lost someone to suicide, their counseling method is group therapy. And we attended, I believe it was 10 weeks, because Donald participated in that, 10 weeks of sitting down with other people that had lost friends, relatives, brother, a sister to suicide, old and young, and you know, and we wound up laughing at times because we thought we were the only ones that were going through these devastating feelings, and it turned out everybody feels the same way, and that was the tactical way we got through that, and faith and just time. And talking about it was hard, as Donald infers, but over time that became personally my greatest therapy, because every time you tell Taylor's story, you give just a little more of the pain away.
Wow.
Sure. So from there, then the foundation just kind of developed as you saw a need for this education and awareness, or was it something that you sat back and said, okay, we've got to do something, and here's how here's the vehicle to do so?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
You know, with a number of friends and business friends in particular, funded us to the first money that was needed to actually form the legal foundation, and it gave us a vehicle to rally people around, and had the opportunity to testify multiple times at Congress, and gave us a place to point people to. And in this case, our biggest supporter along the way has been Major League Baseball, and they gave us the real financial wherewithal to get this little foundation off the ground and to the point we are today.
So did it start at that national level, or did you start just local? Was it?
We started local.
Okay.
And then the Dallas Morning News story ran, and next thing we knew, the New York Times called. Their chief Olympic reporter, Gurney, Longman, came down and spent several days, and they ran a front page, top of the fold story in their sports section. Next day, a producer with CBS 60 Minutes called and said, Mr. Hooton, you know, my name is Gurney Longman. I'm with CBS 60 Minutes. I guess you know why I'm calling. And 6 months later, we had gone from a program in a high school here in Plano to the national stage. And we were soon doing our programs all over the country and having to hire and staff up. And Donald was one of our early adopters and came on to help me grow this thing and make it what it is today.
Well, clearly this is an issue. I mean, it wouldn't have gotten off the ground that fast if it weren't. But I imagine you've had several challenges along the way. What are some of those challenges? Can you share them with us?
Yeah, I think the main challenge is the understanding, or lack of understanding, if you will, of how big this problem is when it comes to everything appearance and performance enhancing substance. So that being anabolic steroids, human growth hormone, the lack of regulation in the dietary supplement industry, where many of us are going to purchase products right now online, but in many of our health food stores around the country. So the biggest thing is people realizing that this is a problem, this is going on. The other big piece is this is a topic that is not being covered in schools. So parents have no idea how big of an issue it is or some of the things they should be paying attention to. Just like the kids aren't getting the information, they're not getting equipped with the information they need to help make an educated decision when it comes to these substances. And I feel that's been our biggest piece. Now, once people are aware of the problem and they see that this is an issue, for example, our best example would be the state of Rhode Island, where we've received a grant for the past 7 years. And we'll go in all over the state doing programs in middle schools, high schools, colleges, law enforcement, nurses, athletic trainers, all over the state, where at first it was very hard to get people to understand this was an issue in the school, where now, I mean, we're doing programs obviously virtually here in 2020, but we'll do over 30 programs in the month of December educating kids and adults in the classrooms.
You know, you said something a second ago, the powdered things that the kids are taking, those can be an issue too? So
in a nutshell, in the dietary supplement industry, there's a lack of regulation. And what does that mean? Basically what that means is you have many, I wouldn't say a lot, but many companies out there that are adulterating products, whether they know they're doing it or they're unknowingly doing it. So about 1 in every 4 products that you can purchase online or over the counter that's labeled dietary supplement or has a supplement facts panel will test positive for things like anabolic steroids, stimulants. At one point, there was over 100 products on the market that had meth-like compounds in it, but marijuana, you name it, diuretics, all sorts of banned and illicit drugs have been found in these products.
So if your kids are using those things, how do you know that they're using ones that are safe?
The best way to know that you're using a product that's clean of any banned substances is finding products that are certified by NSF. So NSF Certified for Sport is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And what they do is they batch test these products to ensure that, 1, every ingredient on the label is actually in that product, but 2, it's free of over 270 banned substances. So they've got a great app that you can download. They're a partner of ours, but we were partnered with them through Major League Baseball, because if you're a Major League Baseball player, you're a professional athlete, and a team is buying these products for their athletes, it has to be certified by NSF, Certified for Sport. 1, for their health, but 2, also you don't want a player testing positive taking a protein powder or creatine.
Right, exactly. So beyond programs in the school, do you have other programs that you do, or is it mostly just kind of going out into the schools to educate?
So we have we have 2 programs. We call them our All Me Assembly programs, where in a typical world, we're going out and delivering this message in schools all across the U.S., Canada, and even Latin America. We have our Appearance and Performance Enhancing Substance program, which that's been our flagship program from the beginning, talking about everything performance enhancing drug. But we've recently, over the past couple of years, hired a sports dietitian, Tavis Piatoli. He's helped us build a whole program around nutrition and dietary supplement safety. So how do you achieve all these physical goals through food and exercise? So we've got those 2 vehicles, as well as a website that we just had updated thanks to our partners over here at Meroc, which is local here in Dallas. They've done a beautiful job on the website, videos, graphics, all that. So that's a great place. But we also have a podcast, just like you guys. So it's the All Me podcast. We're available on all major platforms. We interview guests from professional athletes all the way to doctors and medical experts. Anything appearance and performance enhancing substance related, we're going to be talking about it.
Who's been your most interesting guest?
Well,
it's always a hard question for me when people ask that.
I would say my most interesting guest, and we'll air this, I believe, the second weekend of January, has been Bob Costas. So that was a really interesting interview, trying to interview one of the best. It was hours of preparation, but somebody like that, it's so, as you know, so easy to interview.
I love the story you were telling before the show. Will you share that with us about the auction item?
Oh, yeah. So, one of our board members is good friends with Bob Costas, and a great guy. And, Bob's been very supportive of us over the years. He's done videos for us. But one of the things we asked him for is, would he record a custom voicemail that we could use as an auction item? So we did the first one at our gala last year, and then we just had one up on eBay where people were able to bid to have Bob Costas basically read a script that you would submit. Obviously, it would have to be approved. So when somebody calls yourself and answers, hey, this is Bob Costas answering the phone for Don Hooton or whatever. So it was a really neat gift.
I love that.
And a successful one.
Yeah, very successful.
I love that.
So you've partnered with a lot of the major sports organizations What do they help with in terms of, your organization?
So we've partnered with Major League Baseball, who's our primary sponsor. As my dad said, they've really been the ones that have elevated us. They, we do programs in all 30 major league parks. We have access to players, a lot of credibility, but mostly, I mean, this has really pushed our programs out into schools. We've got a great partnership with the National Football League. So we do programs everywhere from the Atlanta Falcons. We do about 10 to 12 moms clinics with them every year, and youth football clinics, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we do programs for their rookies every year before the season starts. So this year was really interesting. We weren't sure whether we were going to do it, but all the guys were at home on their, their Microsoft Surfaces, and we were able to continue to do our programs virtually and educate the kids.
That's good. I'm glad 2020 didn't shut all that down.
It did not. Yeah, it did not.
Me too. I know it's hard for a lot of nonprofits. I actually heard you at a nonprofit. Are you familiar with the Young Men's Service League?
Yes,
I think you came and spoke when my son was in it.
Okay.
And we enjoyed that.
Great,
So,
great.
very, very great organization that you have here. Share with us your mission.
So our mission is to enlighten people to the truths about appearance and performance enhancing substances. And that's everything, like we said, to the loosely regulated dietary supplement industry, energy drinks, human growth hormone, anabolic steroids, and other stimulants, as well as nutrition.
It's good, because I think a lot of the kids, like you said, they see their role models being in professional sports. They think, what's the fastest way I can get there? And I can see where they would go down that path,
You're
not knowing
right.
any better.
And what most people don't realize is the ease that these young people are able to purchase these drugs. Number one, I mean, you can buy them locally at gyms, But the other thing that's very scary is, I mean, this stuff is readily available on social media sites, on the internet. If you just do a Google search, how to buy these drugs, it's available there. So that's something we're trying to create some more awareness on, just so parents know what their kids are looking at. They might just, hey, they're just out on social media looking at pictures, and just understand too, there are ads that have been run. We've actually seen them next to our gala material or some of our education material where they're advertising, to buy illegal anabolic steroids.
And educate us a little bit on what makes them dangerous.
So anabolic steroids is nothing more than synthetic testosterone. So, while females will have a little bit of it in their body, here in the male body, it's, our male sex hormone, so it changes our voice, our muscles are going to grow. But when you start putting excess levels of testosterone, synthetic testosterone in our body, first our brain says we've got too much of this, so our body stops producing natural testosterone. So that can lead to your depression, that leads to aggression. You hear a lot of people getting roid rage, okay? So that's where that stems from. But internally, our most important muscle that it's affecting, because again, it's a muscle growing drug, so our muscles outside are growing, but the other muscle that it's affecting is our cardiovascular system, so our heart. So it causes, heart disease, things like left ventricular hypertrophy, to where, I mean, that's what leading to heart attack and stroke. So these things are actually happening on the inside that we cannot see. But, there's a host of other side effects that are going on, including acne. People get, they start losing their hair, balding can take place, but, things like, kidney and liver damage can also take place as well.
Well, and did I understand correctly, with Taylor and what happened to him, was it partly because he stopped using it so quickly?
Yeah, that's another thing, man. It's the kids, not just the kids, even the regular users don't know how to manage their use of anabolic steroids, and most of which are not the quality of drugs that a doctor would prescribe you. Most of this junk is coming in from China, comes in powder form, is mixed in someone's lab, and I use the term lab loosely, in somebody's garage or basement where they're preparing the stuff to put it into vials to be distributed. But one of the dangers of anabolic steroids is you use them, you get almost instant results in terms of muscle growth. But the terrible news is once the body, the male body in particular, gets used to a certain level of testosterone, when you cease, and the kids don't know how to manage coming off of it, when they just stop using these drugs, the body sees just the body go to zero testosterone. I'm sure at the time Taylor committed suicide, he had zero testosterone in his system, which leads, and has been documented, to severe depression. And that's depression in Taylor's case wound up costing him his life. Multiple studies have been done There was one from one of the big medical schools in the Northeast that proved it was over 30% of the steroid users experience severe depression during or when they're coming off these drugs, which, you know, for people listening, can you imagine getting into something knowingly that could wind up putting you into severe depression? Well, the problem is the knowingly part. The kids have no idea that that's what they're walking into. And what the foundation does is provide them with the information that hopefully will lead them to make an intelligent decision never to start this stuff to begin with.
It just seems like an animal, a big beast. It's so prevalent. I
Yes.
mean, how does that struggle with your wanting to accomplish changing the world of sports?
You know, that's a really good question. With its prevalence, and again, these drugs work. So if you think about it this way, one of the struggles we have is you have a young person that turns to the use of these appearance and performance enhancing substances. They're noticing their physical changes, right? Because the top two reasons, by the way, young people are using this. One is to look better, and two is to feel better about themselves. So the majority of users today are using these drugs not to improve sports, but solely vanity reasons. And they achieve it very quickly. So what's the first thing somebody tells you? Man, you look great. You've added muscle. You've lost weight. So we're giving positive reinforcement to a drug use that could potentially be very, very harmful. So that's really hard because the drugs work. They work quickly. And, you know, where if you're taking another drug, you might be sleeping or you're high for a period of time. This is very different, right? So it's changing us physically, which, again, is positively reinforced.
Yeah. So what are some success stories? Do you have people that give you feedback that, you know, thank you, you've saved my life type stories? Have you heard any of that?
Certainly. So we've gotten stories back from kids that, you know, hey, my friend was using anabolic steroids, or they came to me asking about anabolic steroids. I took them to your website, or they were part of your program we started talking about, and they made the decision not to. But I think the most powerful story was after, you know, anytime you share that you've lost somebody to suicide, you're part of a fraternity that a lot of people don't understand about unless they've lost somebody. And I was actually, I believe in Massachusetts at the time. I was flying back. It had been a long week. Following a program I delivered, 2 girls had come up to me after the program and said that they had a friend who was thinking about taking her life, and she had been cutting herself, and they were so scared to let the parents know that she'd get in trouble, or, you know, let the school know because they were embarrassed. Well, she didn't show up to school that day. And immediately after the program, we called the principal over, the school nurse came over, they contacted the parents drove home and caught her just before she had taken her life.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those things where, you know, you get on the airplane, it's been a long week, and it's like, God, I'm so tired. And then that phone call comes in, and some girl was just like, you know, thank you. You saved my friend. And I was like, I didn't, you guys did. I mean, you reached out to her, but they heard Taylor's story. And it's because we're sharing this information, I believe we're saving lives.
It's incredible.
That's amazing.
So you've met some pretty interesting people. You've gotten involved with Major League Baseball and several other different types of athletes. Who's been the most interesting person that you've gotten to be involved with?
We've gotten to meet so many along the way, it's hard to single out one. And it's hard, on the other hand, to list them all because you sound like you're name dropping. But it's been everybody from initially, you know, Bud Selig with Major League Baseball, and Roger, you know, sit down in Roger Goodell's office for an hour and a half in a personally engaged meeting with the sports type people. I got to do it's kind of a plus and a minus, but got to do a road show with Alex Rodriguez. He and I traveled up and down the East Coast doing programs for kids. His favorite place to do those programs was in Boys and Girls Clubs because he's a big supporter. And we stuck with him until the time he tested positive again, and we fired Alex and haven't been there since. So it was the good and the bad. And but on the political side, everybody from George Bush to Senator George Mitchell, who was doing, some of our listeners will recall the George Mitchell report where baseball brought him in. I could go on and on. Just it's brought us into a whole circle of people all of whom in one way or the other support what we do, either support us in spirit or have supported us financially. It's been quite a ride for an old marketing and sales guy from Northeast, from North Texas.
Well, I mean, so much of what you do is serious and heavy. What makes you laugh with what you do? What gives you joy other than obviously the successes?
I think it's my favorite part is, so when we deliver our education programs, you have to really associate with kids. If you just get up there and lecture to them, they're going to tune you out. They hear that all day. So it's being able to associate some of the things that happen with humor, telling stories, storytelling. But I think the biggest thing is just seeing that you're able to connect with those kids. But the other cool thing is when you're working around these professional athletes and these kids and they see this athlete coming and they don't know what to say. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so-and-so. Or, you know, we do a lot of programs with the Rangers, and one of our advisory board members is Elvis Andrews, and he does a great job
phenomenal
with the kids. And it's just unbelievable the way he connects and the way they look at him and he smiles. It's those sorts of things that make every last minute of the work that you do so worth it. But those are the moments I look forward to having again, hopefully in 2021.
That's great. So what's next for the Taylor Hooton Foundation? What are some things on the horizon?
So we've got our annual gala, hopefully, pending everything goes well this year, on April 10th.
Always a little asterisk in
Yes,
everything.
exactly. So hopefully that goes well this year. But each year we head down to spring training where we have an advisory board member as part of our All-Me League from all 30 major league teams. So we get to visit with the players there. We give them a public service announcement. And the message this year will be there's no shortcuts to home plate. So we have an ambassador from each team that helps us with that message and uses their presence and their likeness to help us get that message out to kids. But again, growing our podcast, much like, thank you guys for having us on here today and that sort of thing. But, we've got our podcast that we're doing and lots of great things happen in 2020. We're really excited and looking forward to having a new year.
So with that said, why don't you tell everybody the name of your podcast, how they can listen to it, and how they can reach you should they want to have you speak at some of their events?
Okay, so the best way to reach us is through our website, which is taylorhooton.org, Hooton. And our podcast, we're on all major podcast platforms. So we're on Spotify, iTunes, Overcast. If you're a podcast listener, you could search Taylor Hooton, or what you can also do is search for the All Me Podcast. That's one way to do it. Or you can go to allme.libsyn, libsyn.com, and that's on our website. Or you can come directly to our website and our podcast is there. But we do programs and for middle school, high school students, athletic trainers, nurses, even parents. And we're doing everything virtually right now. So even if you want to do a one-on-one with your kid or have nutrition questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Very good, very good.
Well, before we close the show out, if you had the opportunity to tell Taylor what his legacy has been, what would you tell him?
Oh, I get chills up my spine and tears in my eyes as you ask that question. I would just tell him, I hope you're proud of what your family has done since we lost you, bud. And it was a terrible sacrifice for us and for you. And just please know that we have done our best to keep your memory alive and to use that memory to affect other kids. And I'm confident at this point, after 15 years, that we've literally touched millions. We'll never know how many millions, but directly about 2 million, and through media and podcasts, multiple millions of kids. And know in some cases we've saved some lives, and believe that we've saved many more, all because of what we've been able to do with Taylor's story.
I love it. It's amazing.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing your story with us and for sharing it and doing what you do. It obviously is making a difference, and so we appreciate you for that, just as being parents and as knowing other people and other kids too that we care about. Yeah. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. This has been a lot of fun.
Is there anything we didn't ask you that you wish we had?
You covered the water for us.
Can you think of anything else?
No?
Good. Well, again, thank you. And thank you to our audience for listening today. We were so happy to have the Taylor Hooton Foundation here with us, Don and Donald Hooton with us, and we appreciate you watching the show. I'm Caralee.
I'm Stacy.
And we are your real estate professionals.
Thank you for joining us on North Texas Networkers.
Visit our website, mariposagroupdfw.com. That's MARIPOSA Group DFW.com for more information about the show and other resources. I'm Caralee.
And I'm Stacy.
And we are your real estate professionals.